Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? There's always a chance, isn't there? This book said there's always a chance. This book is 36 years old, which means I'm old. But it says right here on page 60. I'll prove it to you. There's always a chance, right? Or is there? Are there times where you just don't have a chance in health? You say you want to do something and just not going to work. Let's talk about that. Actually, what happened was I got contacted Facebook Messenger, by Indy, or if you like, Bank Barcomo, or if you prefer, Justin Rio, and probably 1,000 other monikers, the man of 1,000 names. And he said, hey, would you like to do a video together sometime talking about skills in games and their relevance and all that kind of stuff? I said, sure, that'd be great, because I love to talk to people that are thinking about role-playing games, and especially people that are in the middle of designing them. And I know that he's kind of tinkering around with designing one, and he sent me some information on it back and forth. And it's interesting. I know other people like, Marco, Multiversus Dystopico. He has running a series like on the trials and tribulations of designing a role-playing game and pitfalls and whatnot. Robert the narrator talks about it an awful lot. I think Angel Drinfoots, talks about, making one as well. On and on. But that's really interesting to check out and see what people are doing. But anyhow, I decided, I've been thinking about skills a lot lately for some reason anyway. And I figured if we're going to talk, I kind of wanted to get my thoughts down on paper, or in this case, like on video, on zeros and ones, whatever the heck this is. So here we go. So, strap yourself in. We're going to go down the rabbit hole of how I think, and this could be dangerous. So, you've been warned. Anyhow, I started playing, right? And I was playing like, basic D&D. And so there really wasn't much of a skill system. I've made videos on skills before, a few videos, but mostly I've made videos talking about how I like competent characters. The idea that when we play those early games, we were playing adventurers, and adventurers ought to be good at doing all this stuff. We assumed that they knew how to do all this junk, and we didn't have a skill system in the game at the time. Other games had skill systems. This particular one did not. What it did have was thief skills, and thief skills was an addition to the game after 1974, but before 1981. And the thief class got introduced and did two things. First thing, it started the skill list in the game, which later on became expanded in Dungeons and Dragons, and of course many other games just are skill-based, period. However, the perception that some people had was, hey, you know what, you've added skills, but what you've also done is you've taken skills away from my character, because I used to think he was competent at sneaking around. But now we got this guy his whole shtick is being sneaky, and at low levels he's not even all that good at it, which means my guy must really suck at sneaking around. So that's just, and that as the games progressed, at least Dungeons and Dragons progressed, and they added all these other skills, that was also kind of the perception that a lot of us had. It's like, wait a minute, I thought my guy was good at this. Now you're telling me he's not. So let's talk about skill sets a little bit. Where do you get these skill sets from? Well, it could be something from just being an adventurer or an investigator or a vampire hunter. And you figure, okay, well, this person has a skill set based on who they are. Otherwise they wouldn't be very good at it. They'd probably be a very dead vampire hunter. It could be on something like an archetype. Once again, you got the vampire hunter archetype. Or it could be on something like maybe it's based on their class. If it's a class-based game, it could be on the profession, or their social status, or on something like their background. And a game like Circle of Hands really kind of interestingly codifies all that. So, it has people like divided into various social statuses, and then based on their social status, you have certain professions that are open to you. Based on your social status and your profession, you will have particular skills. And it's global. It's okay, if you're a farmer, you know how to do these particular things. If you're not a farmer, you don't know how. These people don't have time to have multiple skill sets, because they're busy staying alive. This is not modern day. They don't have time to be Renaissance men. They from sun up to sundown, they need to know exactly what's going to keep them alive for that day. Really kind of interesting, and dare I say, realistic. I kind of dig that little vibe. So you have these times when you finally get whatever skill system it is you have, right? And so you're going to have numbers, and you say, okay, you got to roll these particular dice, and here's your target number. You got to roll over this or under that, or add this modifier, or whatever it is, to find out if your guy succeeds or fails at doing whatever stated action you say, right, based on the skill. However, there are times when you simply don't have to roll dice, where, I've talked about before, where maybe it's just something that's just so mundane, you don't really need to roll dice. However, let's go a little deeper, and let's say it's based on their skill set. you ought to succeed based on this. And once again, it can be based on skill level. Say if you've got a bunch of ranks or whatever it is, or points in a particular skill, maybe you just like, oh, you know what, you're just that good. Don't worry about rolling about this in this particular instance. It could be based on things like profession or social class. Once again, it's what Circle of Hands does. They say, yep, you automatically know how to do that in a lot of cases. Sometimes you have to roll dice, but a lot of times you do not. It could be based on your archetype. Okay, well, if you're a vampire hunter, I guess you know how to sharpen stakes and look things up in magical tomes to figure out, extra, stuff, or to find out where people are buried and, whatever it is vampire hunters do, find the holy water, all that kind of good junk. Could be based on like a class, okay, maybe if you're a warrior, maybe you know how to fix your armor. You don't need to require somebody because that's something you're gonna have to do an awful lot. Maybe it's based on something like class and a level, where if you're playing a game like that, the more experience you have, okay, well, you're better and better at doing whatever the heck this is. It could be based on like background, so things are not necessarily stated professions, but maybe you just decide you're from a particular area, maybe you know how to speak this language or whatever it is, or whatever it is, something about this particular ecology. You make it up at that point. A lot of times it can be based on your ability score. And, various games have different, ways of measuring ability scores, but it's really common for people to say, okay, well, you know what, you've got at least a 13 intelligence. Everybody with 13 intelligence or better notices this right off the bat. Or you could say, all right, everybody with like, say, a 14 dexterity or higher, they get across this slippery ledge, no problem. Everybody else needs to roll. That's going to be a little dicey. But you assume that people are going to perform at their base level of competence most time, which is rather realistic once again. It's only like, if you watch people in real life, they generally perform, how good they are, and every once in a while they screw up, but it's not that often. Something like Ubiquity takes this to the extreme, where they have the idea of taking the average. So you have, based on your ability score and your skill level, at the end of the day, you've got X number of dice to roll. And so let's say you've got 6 dice to roll on this particular skill. Let's say it's like acrobatics or whatever, so you're getting across that little slippery ledge. But we decided this was a task that required 3 successes, which is getting kind of difficult. However, you can take the average. So the average of that 6 die pool is 3. So you don't need to roll dice. You can just say, yep, you get across. Now, depending on the size of the die pool and everything, I think in Ubiquity it ranges somewhere between 50 and 65% of the time-ish that you would actually roll the average. But this game's like, it says, no, you know what, you're just that good. If you need more successes, that's a different story. But once again, it's mimicking the idea that people generally perform at their base level of competence most of the time. What about Autowash or Autofail? Autowash is always bad. When does this happen? This happens when you're trying to do something you just don't know how to do. Like, once again, Circle of Hands, these other professions that you don't have, or social class you don't know how to do that stuff. You don't get to try. You're just clueless at this. I really kind of like that, the way he put that and codified that. I wouldn't like that in every single game, but that was really kind of neat. Or it's some kind of niche skill. Like, I tell you what, like if you have Ivan go to try to hack into the mainframe of like NORAD or the IRS or whatever the heck it is, good luck. I got news for you. I'm not getting in there. It just doesn't matter how much time you give me. I can take 10, take 20, take 100. No clue what I'm doing. Fixing an automatic transmission, I suppose maybe if I had a manual and enough months, maybe I could do that. Brain surgery, no clue. I mean, no way. Maybe I could do a trach. I watched MASH. I know, Father Mulcahy did it, being coached over the radio. Maybe I could do that. You get the idea. There's times where it's just a niche skill. There's no way in heck you're ever going to have that happen. And then you got the Hail Mary. Okay, and so if you're not from America, I'm not sure if you know what the Hail Mary pass is, and if you do, forgive me for explaining this, but it comes from American football as far as I can figure out, and it's the idea, it's the last second of the game, it's crucial that your team needs to score, you're going to lose, you're behind, but you could win if you just manage to score this last touchdown. And the idea is this impossible distance between the passer and the receiver. The person's supposed to catch the ball. He's surrounded by a bunch of people on the other team. And so the guy that passes the ball just says, what the heck? He says a little prayer, a little Hail Mary, throws the ball, and hopes this guy catches it. And every once in a while, it works. Hail Mary. He made it, caught it. It comes from here, this book as well. It talks about, hey, that's not in the rules. And there's this little example they give of somebody falling, and I think it's in a dungeon, and we determine that we already know there's like a stream or a river underneath there, and so it's possible if this guy falls in this chasm, he might live, and gives you this idea that maybe you give him a 2% chance. So this guy rolls a 1 or a 2 on percentile dice, he lives. Other than that, he's not making it. It's a Hail Mary. There are games that actually kind of codified this. Ubiquity will allow you to do some kind of Hail Mary. And here's an idea of how that might work. Say you have no skill in a particular area, but you say you got a skill based on dexterity. Let's just say it's acrobatics. Let's keep this simple. So you got a dexterity of 2. So you've got 2 dice to add to your die pool already. But you've got no skill in dexterity. You've got to get 2 successes in order to succeed at whatever the heck this thing is. Here's the kicker. You take a -2 hit for not having any kind of skill in that area. So now you have 0 dice to roll. You have no chance in heck of getting these 2 successes. However, you can do something. You can spend your style points, 1 point per die, and get some dice to roll. Great. So it's kind of like a Hail Mary pass, except you've got to give a plausible reason why your character would be able to do that in this particular circumstance. You need to be able to narrate what they're doing and how they're doing it. So it's not just free dice from heaven. It's kind of an Autowash. Good luck figuring out how you're going to narrate that, and give yourself a chance, a little bit of a chance. So yeah, skill systems are interesting. They can be mind-bogglingly complex or ridiculously simple. But I think it's important to include the ideas of auto-success and auto-failure. You don't always need to roll dice, but you have to have plausible reasons why you would have an auto-success or why you would have an auto-failure. And if you want to allow a Hail Mary, and how would that work? So what do you think?